Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Breaking Into Cybersecurity, the Leadership Edition. Um, Today, our guest is Roya Gordon. She's running a little late. In the meanwhile, we're going to uh, um, have a little questions and answers before she comes. I'd like to welcome everybody aboard. Um, so, one of the topics we're going to talk about is leadership. We're going to talk with Roya. Is leadership, how important leadership and skill is in cybersecurity, and how to get to leadership. How do people start from, um, you know, start from normal, or I guess you could say their entry level position, and then wind up in leadership? All right, is this something that is planned or something that just happens along the way? Right. So we try to interview leaders so we could so you could be inspired on how they became a leader. All right. So I'd like to invite everybody here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and also tell us where you're from. I am streaming from New York City, Brooklyn. Okay. So, um, so yes. So leadership, right? How do you break into cybersecurity? Let's talk. Oh, InfoSec is calling from UK. All right. Welcome. Yeah. So, how do you break into cybersecurity? One of the things is, I say this, the first thing, and this might be unorthodox, but the first thing you do is find a community. Find a community of cybersecurity professionals that are like-minded people do that are doing like-minded things, right? That are trying to do the same thing you're doing and have the same passion or the same kind of mission you have. All right. That way, when you get around experts, you can get honest and real advice, right? You got to be careful of the advice because you got to be careful of the intent. Some advice that you get has, monetary intent behind it, right? I want you to buy my product, or I want you to, you know, um, and enhance whatever I'm selling. I want you to buy whatever I'm selling. So their advice might be geared towards that. So the first thing is to join a community, right? There's a lot of communities. There's communities earmarked for minorities. There's communities that are earmarked for women. There's communities that are uh, certification focused, right? So join multiple communities. You don't have to even join one, right? Join multiple ones. There are ones that are local. You should try to join one that is local, and then join different ones, join international ones. I know InfoSec is from UK. We have John from Atlanta. I know someone said they're from Ghana. Oh, we have, yeah. Oh, yeah. John was originally from Ghana, right? So make sure you join an organization. And there's multiple ones around. I'm not going to get too deep into the weeds in that. You could easily Google, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, once you join that organization, look for a mentor. Like a mentor might not be just an individual. A mentor could be a group. That organization could mentor you, right? I run an organization, and what we do group mentorship. So that way the whole group can mentor and give you advice and help you and help you or steer you in the right direction. So find it then. So that's the second thing. Find a mentor. Find someone that can guide you. Right. Some people are scared of that word mentor because it might uh, demand a commitment that they can't give you. So, maybe advisors might be a better word sometimes. So, find a mentor, find advisors that can help you be along your peers. And then the third thing to do is find a job or a career. Well, cybersecurity is a career, it's more than a job. Find something you like to do. Find a job. Is it a pen tester? Is it a SOC analyst? Is it, find something that interests you, right? And then have your mentor, have your advisors help you in making a plan to break into cybersecurity. Right? InfoSec said the cybersecurity community is one of the most giving I have come across, right? Lots of people are willing to help. Exactly. Let me tell you something why. The cybersecurity community is gamers. It's filled with gamers. So gamers are sorry. Gamers are a community of that's just our community. That's just our mindset. If you're playing a game and someone's stuck, we will help. All right. So that translates to what we do in the job, our mindset of helping somebody get from level 1 to level 2. Right. We translate what we do in the video games to real life, or we translate real life to video games, however you want to say it. Right. So yeah, you're right on InfoSec. Right, we are very helpful. Right, we want to see everybody succeed, and also too, we're we're understaffed, so that's another reason why we want to see everybody succeed too. Let's see. Any questions? IPR said, Professor, how are you? How you doing, IPR? Welcome. John is from Atlanta. I'm moving to Atlanta soon. Okay, let me, all right, give me 1 second. Roya is trying to enter in while she's trying to come in. Any questions? All right. Cool. Okay. So, see if I can get her in. I don't. All right. Oh, Phil, how you doing, Phil? So those are the 3 ways to get into cybersecurity. Once you're in cybersecurity, I think then you should try to now look for mentors, right? And mentors are different along your journey. Look for mentors that will now give you a clear career path to what you want to be, right? You're starting off at entry level, right? From entry level, do you want to become an expert? And you do a path there. Do you want to become into leadership? Do you want to be a manager? Right? These things you have to do while you just started. So that way you have a clear path. That way you know you're on the right, you're in the right company. You might have to switch companies from level to level. Right? You get to level 2, maybe the company doesn't have a good plan for level 2. So that is one of the issues. Yeah. Okay. Yes. She, our guest, she'll be in here in a couple of minutes. So, any questions? What do you guys think about that? Does anybody here have a career path? Is anybody here trying to get to leadership or in leadership already? All right. Post your path or what you're looking for, or what's your idea or dream job in the chat. Gino, good afternoon. How you doing? Where you joining from? Gino's here. Great. All right. All right. So, and unfortunately, when I started, I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have that. I wish I did. I would have saved a lot of time. I went down wrong roads, and I wasted a lot of time. And coming back, see, when you go down the wrong road, it winds up as a dead end. The problem with dead ends, you got to come all the way back to where you started and go down the right path. Right. So that takes a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time and years. I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had someone to give me this advice, right? Earlier, right? But that's when cybersecurity was new and we were still trying to figure out what is the way. Now cybersecurity is more established. They have established jobs, right? And we can now map a clear path. Good afternoon. I hope I'm saying your name right. And Nuas, in Noas, right, from Canada. Welcome. Yeah. What job are you working now? Are you in the field now? Ania, Anua Sorgino. Leave it in the chat. So how I got into cyber is that I was a network administrator doing Cisco and Juniper, you know, working on Sonic Wall, working on our network equipment. And we was in a meeting and we wanted to get, Cisco firewalls were very, well, it wasn't really a firewall. It was, I mean, of course, firewall is a marketing term, but it was a router that had an access control list on it. Oh, cool. Goya just joined. Hold on. Let's just make sure her video and stuff is okay. And I'll add her.
Can you hear me?
Hello, Goya. How you doing? Hello. Let's see if I can add her. All right. While she works on her video. All right. Okay. I'm going to add Goya now. Roya, sorry. Hello, Roya. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure. You're live on the podcast.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I didn't know it was a video podcast. Usually when I
That's okay.
podcast, I think of audio only, so I
Yeah,
apologize for not being on video.
no problem. It's okay. Welcome to our podcast. This is Breaking Into Cybersecurity Leadership Edition. And can you introduce yourself to our audience? Thank you for coming. And do you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Sure. So my name is Roya Gordon. I am a security research evangelist at Nozomi Networks. I have a background in control system cybersecurity, did that in consulting, did some control system cybersecurity at Idaho National Laboratory, studied cyber warfare in grad school, and did threat intelligence in the Navy. So, really excited to be at Nozomi Networks doing what I do, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Nozomi Networks is a great company. That's a great product. Can you explain what that company does?
Yeah, sure. So we're mostly in the critical infrastructure space. So, oil and gas, electric utilities, it could be transportation, airports, etc. But a lot of those companies, they have assets that are all over. They use a lot of devices that are what's called legacy systems. So they're old and unsupported devices that hackers are actively trying to hack. So when we tell them, hey, you should patch and you should secure these devices, the problem is they don't know what they have. So they don't know what to secure because they don't know what devices they have, what vendors, what version numbers, because, these devices have been in their environments for decades. So we have a tool that allows you to, we call it asset discovery. So you're able to discover what you have connected to your network, do an inventory of it, and then from there you can prioritize which ones are secure, which ones need to be patched. It's unique because everyone knows how to do this in the IT side, but not when it comes to operational technology. So, Nozomi, we're solving that problem.
Yeah, that's great. They need a lot of help on that side, and I see a lot of this cybersecurity is starting to pay attention to the OT side of
Yeah.
things, and I guess trying to bring them up to the modern age, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's perfect. So let me ask you a couple of questions, right? Um,
So I
uh,
have sorry, real quick. Are we live or is this being
yes, we're live.
pre-recorded? Okay. I wasn't sure.
Sure, no problem. Um, why did you become a cybersecurity leader? Well, versus than just working.
Yeah, yeah. So, being an individual contributor is cool. You get to hone in on a certain skill and become an expert in that. And that's needed. I don't want to knock people that are doing that, but being a leader or even a thought leader in the space, it comes with additional challenges. So you can't just know about one thing. You have to know about multiple things. You have to know about cyber policies and how it affects certain industries. You have to know about market deficiencies, lack of resources, how mergers and acquisitions affect cybersecurity decisions. And you have to be able to articulate what all of this means to various audiences. So maybe they are a cybersecurity engineer or a CISO or board member. They need different versions of this information packaged specifically for them so that they can take action. So, all in all, to be a leader, you have to be a good communicator. It brings with it a whole new set of challenges. And that is honestly what I love about it.
Oh, awesome. So, how did you become a good communicator?
Man, okay. So when I was in the Navy, my job was intelligence, and a big part of that was briefing. I had to give like 3 intelligence briefings per day. And doing that for about 6 years, you kind of get good at it. You get good at presenting. Um, in tandem with that, I also do spoken word poetry. So I'm able to kind of release that creative side, and I've performed
Oh,
at weddings and galas and different events. So I've just become comfortable with just communicating messages to people, and now I'm able to take that soft skill I have and apply it to cybersecurity, and it works.
oh, okay. So maybe I might see you on Def Poetry Jam.
Maybe, maybe.
Yeah, that's great. So, what do you think are the critical skills for a cybersecurity leader?
Okay.
Oh, mm,
I want to hone in on that communication piece just a little bit, because I'm
mhm,
realizing that that's really the main part of leadership, right? So
right.
um it means that you have to understand the language of the technical folks. And I'm happy that I came from that control system background where I understand the technical stuff. And the more that I moved up in my career, I had to understand the business side of things. So all of the other things that affects what you do as a company when you're trying to supply cybersecurity to someone. And you have to understand what businesses do, how they do it, so you can communicate the value that cybersecurity will bring to them. So
Mm,
you got to do that on one end, right? Communicating upwards to like CISOs and board members and executive leadership, but then also communicating downward to the people that are doing the work, and being kind of like a tech translator, if you will, making sure that both sides understand what needs to be done, whether it's the value, whether it's monetary, whatever the case is. I know that when I'm usually speaking to board members, they care more about the monetary value. How much money is this going to save me? If we're preventing cyber attacks over a course of time, what is the revenue looking like? You have to speak in dollars. And when you speak to other audiences, you have to just speak in value in other ways. So I would say, being a leader, you have to just be able to communicate different things to different audiences. I would say it's my biggest strength in being able to do this.
also, communication, it seems like communication is the main or high critical skill for
Oh,
leadership.
absolutely. I'll give you a better example. So, a part of my role at Nozomi Networks, I have to review anything technical, all the technical content that comes from the security research team. And we're talking about people that are analyzing malware and finding zero-day vulnerabilities. So, super, super technical. And they're putting together the research that they did. And when I get it, I have to make sure that it is going to be reading it, right? When we publish this, when we talk to media about it, like, this is great research, but how can we translate the value that it's bringing? So sometimes it's like, well, maybe we need to change the title. We need to restructure this. Maybe we need to add this image. And all of that is being a leader in the space, because I know the audience, I know how to communicate with them. And if I don't package it in a certain way, then this message is just going to go over everyone's head. So I would
Mm,
say communication is definitely a big part of it.
okay, great, great. And so, what is your personal comfort level? Right, we'll say like 1 to 5 with delegation, collaboration, and communication.
Okay. I rate these a bit differently, and if I can be 1,000%,
Yeah.
um, when it comes to delegation, my personal comfort level is about a 3, and that's only
Okay.
because I'm in a field where there are just a lot more older people than me, a lot more males.
Hmm.
So I have to almost fight to be taken seriously sometimes, and that's a conversation for another day. So in some of my previous roles at another company, I remember I had someone on my team who was older than me, and I didn't look at it as old or young, just, hey, I need to have a team and things just need to get done, right? But I soon realized that because that person had these preconceived notions about me being in this role, it had nothing to do with me, but I had to kind of change my approach. So they probably been in the field longer than me. Sure, that's valid. But they didn't understand why I was put in a position of authority. And because of that, Every time I asked for something to be done, it was always an issue. I could be nice about it, I could be direct, it didn't matter. But once I like changed my strategy to help them feel more included in whatever was being asked, I got a different reaction, a more helpful reaction. So, when it comes to delegation, I'm at a 3 because I have to do it in a specific way. You have to be delicate about how you delegate, if you will.
I like that. I
And
like.
now when it comes to like collaboration and communication, I'm at my most comfortable. I know what needs to be done, how to communicate what needs to be done, and how to foster the collaboration in a productive way. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, no, that was great. Uh, and what about collaboration?
Yeah, I would say a 5 for communication and collaboration. Um, just in all my roles, I've always really been big on breaking down silos. There's all these teams that are heads down doing their work, and I'm always like, well, let me tell this person over here because this may interest them or this may involve them. And when that happens, there's just more people that need to be a part of the conversation than you think. So recently I was engaged in a account for a prospect, and I presented to them on security research and the capabilities of the company, and then I just mentioned it to another part of the company because I'm like, well, they weren't involved in this, but I think maybe they have value or maybe they should know this. And then it just ended up turning out into a bigger opportunity than we thought because then that person had knowledge that could help, possibly land this account. So I'm really big on, even if someone doesn't need to take action, just giving them the no, keeping them in the loop, just so things aren't just all siloed off and we can all work together collaboratively.
Okay. And ha did you have any pain stories about collaboration? You had any pushback saying, we don't want to work with them, or, that's not what we do?
You know what? Off the top of my head, I'm gonna say no. I mean, I'm not
Okay.
gonna say there just hasn't been pain points, but when it comes to collaboration, it's been I don't people almost welcome it. So it's not like they're like, well, why are you telling them about this? Maybe they don't need to know, and they're like, okay, well, thanks for telling me, but there hasn't really been a roadblock or any backlash or any kind of negative response when I try to like foster collaboration. Sometimes if they aren't the person, they'll just say, "Oh, well, you can talk to this person." And, that's even helpful because now I'm being pointed in the right direction. So I just think more people need to adopt this. There's different teams working on different things, but it's all for the same goal. So, um, yeah, so far collaboration has been great, especially with where I'm at.
Right. That's great. That's great. So now, how important would you consider influence as a skill in being a leader, and why?
Yeah, influence. That word just gets so much flack because of Instagram and,
Oh,
TikTok.
yeah. Right. Right. Now it's a job being an influencer.
Right? But when you think about it, we have always kind of put influence on a pedestal. Like maybe we haven't called it that because we're in a more professional field,
Mhm.
but it's the same thing and for good reason. You can't be a leader in a space without influence. If no one doesn't find value in what you think, what you say, you don't have influence, you can't lead people. Um, you could be influencing others to, think about certain things in a different way that they haven't considered. Influence people to take action, influence people to want to collaborate. So your ability to communicate and influence is key to being a great leader. I didn't read some book or someone told me that. I just honestly believe that based on my experience. Just always sharing something that's thoughtful, thought provoking, and it's your own thoughts. It's one thing you're just sharing a whole bunch of stuff, but you kind of you cross over to being that leader when you're just like, I consumed all of this information, I analyzed it on my own, and this is what I think. That's what makes you a leader. That's what makes you influential because now people are going to keep coming to you for these key insights that they can't get anywhere else.
Oh, so individual thinking.
Exactly. Individual thinking, which now they're branding it as thought leadership. And when I first heard it, I'm like,
Thought
how are
leadership.
you a leader of thought? But it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, how would you consider networking? Would you consider that a leadership skill, and why?
Yeah, no, networking, hands down. I tell people all the time when I do professional development, I'm just like, be a good networker. Um, and I can't remember the last time I actually applied for a job. This is just an example
Hmm.
because, I keep a strong network. People in your network, they follow you. Whether they like something or comment on LinkedIn or, you may never see them. They're following your journey. They're following what you're doing. If you're speaking at conferences, whatever, you publish something, and then when it's time for them to want to collaborate or they have an opening, instead of them flipping through a whole bunch of resumes, they're just going to come to you and reach out to you directly, because they're already convinced that you can do the job that they're looking for. So I would say networking is key for that if you're trying to get different roles. um it's just key in, again, the whole collaboration piece. I do a lot of things with different organizations, and because they're familiar with Nozomi networks, they're familiar with me, they're more inclined to work with us because we're always visible, we're always there.
Hmm.
If you're not networking and you're just in a hole and you just don't like events, which a lot of people in cybersecurity are like that, they're very
Right.
introverted. But on and some people like that, right? Because they can just be in their silo and be an independent contributor and do their work. And it takes people like me to have the job of networking. But if you're trying to like really get your research out there or something that you're doing out there and you want to be the one to communicate that and you don't want a middleman, you have to step up and you have to network and communicate. So you're seeing how all these skills are kind of coming together: communicating, networking, being influential. It all ties together when it comes to being a leader. And it's not anything that needs to be practiced in a academic type of way. I
Right.
would say for me it came more natural. But as I'm trying to like tell people who are listening, you can just kind of be more aware. So in your interactions, just think like, I'm going to this event, look at the agenda. Who are the key people that are going to be here? Okay. And I do this sometimes too. I look at the agenda, I add them on LinkedIn. I may reach out ahead of time. I look and see what talks are happening that I could be interested in. And then afterwards, I make it a point to talk to the presenter and maybe ask a question, let them know I thought it was interesting, whatever the case is. And I'll give an example of that. I was at the Hack the Rail conference 2 weeks ago. Uh,
Right.
yeah, led by Missy. And there was a guy who presented. I think his name is Michael Eccles, and he's leading this control systems joint working group for the rail industry. And Nozomi, we're plugged into rail. That's another big industry that we're in. I wanted to get more involved. So after his talk, I went up to him. I told him I was interested. How do I become a part of this joint working group? And he said, yeah, send me an email. I'll plug you in. And I'm now on the email, and there's like an invite only in-person event in December that I'm going to now. So
Nice.
yeah, the power of networking. Had I not been there, or maybe I was there and I didn't talk to him,
Right.
then I wouldn't be plugged in. So networking is definitely key.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So now this podcast is breaking into cyber, right? Teaching people, teaching the future leaders how to become leaders by talking to leaders, right? So
Yeah.
we're talking about networking, right? What advice would you give to the future cybersecurity leaders?
So, there's a couple. Where do I begin? Okay. I would say definitely keep honing your craft. So you don't just jump from doing one thing. Maybe you're working in a SOC for a year, and then all of a sudden you just want to be a leader in the space. Like, I would say hone in on what you're doing, get those additional certifications, be like truly an expert, a subject matter expert in your craft. But then over time, look out and just see the bigger impact of what you're doing. I remember a previous employer, I had my team, and I would ask them like, "Do you know that what you're doing? Do you know what it does? Do you know where it goes? Do you know what people think about it?" And they were just like, "No, we just know that we're finding vulnerabilities, or we just know that we're analyzing this malware." And I started just telling them of the broader things. I mean, they didn't have to do anything. It was all interactions that I was doing. But once I started telling them about that, it motivated them more to do what they were doing. They just had this better understanding of the importance of their job, just by
Mm,
looking out and seeing the broader impact. So I would say if you're really trying to be a leader, though, you have to know about the different policies in the space and how that affects what you're doing. Because I understand I'm in a very niche part of cybersecurity, which is, industrial Internet of Things, operational
right.
technology. But if you're just in tech or, other types of security, then just look in that space and at the different policies that could be affecting the businesses operating there, and maybe how you could advise them. How does this affect their approach to cybersecurity because of these new policies? And then definitely share, so when you think these new thoughts about things that are happening, share on your LinkedIn, share with your community if you're still doing the Twitter thing, because I know a lot of people have left Twitter because of new management. I would say just share with people, because that's how you're going to set yourself apart. You don't have to have a role as a leader to be a leader in the space. You can use the platform that you have to be a leader. Another thing I would say is definitely work on presentation skills. That is
Mm,
absolutely key, because, when I was at Idaho National Laboratory, they paid for Toastmasters. It was,
yes.
a part of professional development, because you have all these brilliant scientists and chemists, and they just could not communicate all the stuff that they were doing, and it was a problem. It was a roadblock. So if you learn how to communicate effectively, um, corporate storytelling, I think that to me is genius. As a poet, I love telling stories, and I had to learn what corporate storytelling was. I'm like,
Yeah,
why?
what is that? Corporate storytelling.
What I mean, it's genius. Whoever came up with it's the best way to communicate value to any kind of high level audience. So there's like three parts to it. You can call it different things, but the first part is the problem, right? So what is the problem that the company is trying to solve, right? And then the next part is, well, what is the solution? It could be this policy is the solution. It could be Nozomi Networks is the solution. And then the third part of it could be, well, what is the value that it brought? What was the outcome? And to give like a more real example, we could say, man, this company doesn't know any assets that they have, that spread across the globe. They
Hmm.
don't know what's on their network. And now they have to do this project that it's going to cost a lot of money to get people there to physically try to find these systems and do manual inventory. That's the problem. The solution could be, well, Nozomi Networks, if you connect it to your network, you're able to find at least 80% of what's connected to your network. So that's cutting down on a lot of that manual labor in trying to do so. So that's the solution. And then the outcome could be, well, we saved $500,000 because we didn't have to do it manually, and we're able to do this faster because of the solution. So telling that story very succinctly, in the value that whatever you're doing brings, I mean, I think that is just a skill that everyone needs to have, for sure.
Yeah, man, that's awesome, man. Corporate storytelling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. Uh, uh, Thank you, Roya, for coming in, talking to the future leaders, right? The ones that are getting into cybersecurity or just started their journey, right? You gave some great advice. Um, Before we end, right, you have a unique name, very beautiful. What does it mean?
Thanks. So it's I'm Jamaican, but
Oh,
my
okay.
name is Persian and it means dream.
Oh, dream. Okay. Are you a big dreamer?
Yeah, I'm actually living my dream right now.
Okay. All right. That's perfect. That's perfect. So, before we close out, we'll go to the audience, see if anybody has any questions uh, for Roya, the dreamer.
Roy
Um,
the dreamer. I like that.
Roya, the dreamer. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat.
No,
Then,
ask away, y'all. Ask away.
yes, no problem. So, what is the future for you, Roya?
You know
What is
what?
your
That is
dream, your big dream?
That is such an interesting question. I feel like I'm trying to figure that out. At one
Mhm.
point I was like, I think I want to be a CISO, but which is the Chief Information Security Officer, the ones that usually get fired after like a major cyber attack. Like
Oh man.
that's not a role to be taken lightly. There's a lot of pressure on CISOs. They don't get enough credit, I think. But
Mm.
it seems like that would be a next challenge. But then a part of me, I'm really passionate about educating people and helping people get into cyber. And, it started off as just volunteering. And then now it's turned into something that I think I want to do seriously. So maybe in the future, it's me having my own business where I'm educating, whether it's veterans, because, I'm a veteran, women, Black people, kids, and just kind of I'll be talking to them in a different way. Because right now my message is like it's high level to CISOs, high level to board members. That's very different than talking to like a child or like someone that has no idea what cybersecurity is and helping them get into it. Different message, um, different audience, a new challenge, but also impacting, changing lives. So that could be the next step. But where I'm at right now, I'm just so happy. I love the team. I love the company. I love what we're doing in the space. There's not a lot of competitors in the space, which is great because it's not oversaturated. And all of these government policies that are coming out, it's really just helping our mission, which just makes it so much easier to do what I do. So maybe I'll figure it out in a couple of years, but right now I'm good where I'm at. But there's more for the future. I'm still young. I'm 35, so who knows?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Okay, we have one question in the chat. I'm going to display it on the screen. It's from Ahmed. Thank you, Ahmed. What do you look for most in a leader?
Oh man, this is a good one. I would say, and this is key, emotional intelligence. And I
Uh,
say this because, you know, when I was starting off in this field, you have your coworkers, you all could banter differently, right? Because y'all are there, y'all are working at the lower levels, y'all could joke. If you hate your boss, you can share that. When you're climbing up and you're becoming a leader, you can't really banter the same way because you have people that are looking up to you, right? So if your reputation is everything, people they don't want to work for someone that's considered a jerk or like a bad person or someone with a bad reputation. So you have people looking up to you. You have your fellow peers, sure. You have, people above that you're aspiring to be. You kind of have to carry yourself differently. And it took me a while to realize that wow, I'm being looked at in a different light. So there's certain things I can't do or I can't say anymore. Also, the emotional intelligence could be on how you lead your team. Like I mentioned before,
mhm.
different team members that respond differently to how I ask for things. And sometimes you have to be aware of that. It can't just be like I told you to do this and you have to do it because I'm this authority figure, like it's not the military. You have to have some kind of intelligence to read people and to be able to figure out how you can get people to do what you want. And I don't want to say it's like this whole psychology scheme, but you have to have a bit of emotional intelligence to know your team, know your peers, know the leadership so that you can figure out how you're going to operate within that environment. And I don't think a lot of people think about it that way, but I would say that that really makes a good leader, and that stands out because if someone's hiring for leaders, there could be one person that just kind of gives off that bad vibe, but super knowledgeable. And maybe someone else that isn't as knowledgeable, but there's just something charismatic about that person. You want to work with them, you want to work for them. They fit in with the business culture. Like that person is going to get hired over the other person who everyone's probably going to hate once they get hired on board. So, emotional intelligence is definitely key in leadership.
Oh, that is great, great response. And what is ironic? Emotional IQ is now a thing, and they teach that in leadership. Uh, leadership classes and schools and all that now.
Yeah,
So it is important.
it's key for sure.
Yes, thank you guys for your questions.
And feel free to add me on LinkedIn, you all. I'm very active.
Oh yes, yes.
I love to post things and have people have discussions. If there's anything new and groundbreaking that my team is doing, or just in the industry, I like to share that. So yeah, I'm Roya Gordon. You can add me.
Yeah,
And
no, I'm
I
gonna
see a
post.
couple of you added me already. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it in the chat, your LinkedIn profile. So yeah, everybody joined. She talked heavily about networking. So this is how you start the networking, right? Thank you so much, Roya. I appreciate you taking out your time and joining us today and talking to the future leaders. I hope you success in your dreams, right? Because you are a dreamer.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and that's a good thing to be, right? Everybody have a good afternoon and a nice weekend.
Okay, thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.